The Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Starving Artist Brewing. Starving Artist Brewing may be a small speck on Michigan's beer map, but they say big things come in small packages. A brewery who really puts their money where their mouth is, supporting underground artists far and wide. Making delicious beers with the simple belief that you should judge beer, not people. Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. For over 30 years, Rockabilia has been the go-to destination for all things band merch. With over 500,000 items in their online store and collaborations with today's hottest bands, you're sure to find something you love. Use our code BREW10 at checkout and take 10% off your total order. So go pick up your favorite new piece of merch now over at Rockabilia.com. And now, on to the show.
Say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is the returning Ryan Tuck O'Leary. Most of you know him from Fit for a King, but we are here to talk about the new off-road minivan record, May This Keep You Safe from Harm, which is out now. It is a very solid record, no pun intended, given the fact of the record is put out by. But it's one of those things that when the record came through in my email and I listened to it, it was really emotionally cathartic. I don't really think there's been a record that I've gotten recently, maybe outside of the newest Dayseeker record, where it just kind of felt hard to get through. And the only way I can really, I guess, describe that is just that when you've, I guess, lived life, when you've lived being almost 40 at this point, when you've gone through loss, when you've gone through so many things, and you continue to look inward, I think, to become a better person. I think that there is so much that resonates when you listen to the new off-road minivan record that it's hard. It's hard to listen to it because you know that this is something that this person had to go through. And in some instances, it's a great thing. It's a positive thing that, it allows for growth of the individual, hopefully for others. But in some instances, it's almost the knowing that it's time to let go and move on that gets really, I can at least speak for myself, that it's really hard to know that, to know to set the boundary and just know that this, whatever this is, could be a relationship, could be a job, could be, a lot of things, that it's ran its course and it's no longer something you need to give time to. And as I get older, I think that's the hardest thing to kind of pay attention to, is when it's time to move on, when it's time to, and I don't want to say give up. That's kind of the phrase I think that most of us would probably associate with such thing, but it's not really giving up. It's moving forward. It's progressing. And I think that looks different for so many people, but it was really cool getting to talk to Tuck about this record. Something that's a little bit different, obviously, than Fit for a King. And I think in some ways that's what makes this record to me so more interesting, is its vulnerability in a different way that we're not really used to seeing. And on top of that, like, Tuck, after having him on for the first time, I'll say, he reminds me of one of my good friends, Rodney, just almost same sounding voice, sort of same mannerisms and stuff like that. And like Rodney, Tuck is someone that I think just is, in the nicest way of saying this, is just unapologetically himself. And it's a very inspiring thing to surround yourself with people like that, who understand what they want out of life and, I guess, how to go about it. And at times it might seem like they're being very standoffish or crass, and I don't see that from my perspective. It's actually what makes me enjoy the conversations with both Tuck and with Rodney. So much so that when I got off the phone with Tuck doing this chat, I ended up texting Rodney, and I was like, actually, I called him because we're we're still of the mindset that typically we will call each other. And it was the thing where I told Rodney, I was like, dude, I just got off the phone with someone that sounds a lot like you to me with their voice. And I realized I haven't seen you or talked to you in a little while. I know you just moved back home. We should hang out. We should grab some drinks and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where, I think in the press bio thing for the new off-road minivan, Tuck had made a comment about how, this record hopefully will make you call your mom or your dad or your loved ones or whatever. And I'll be damned if I didn't call someone and want to have a conversation with them and kind of open those lines of communication and grow our personal connections and so forth. All of that said, let's get into this chat with Tuck, and I'll talk to you all on the other side of it. It's funny. Lately, I've been doing the thing I don't usually do, which is talking about the thing, because I feel like it kind of dates the conversation in a timestamp of like, oh, we're talking about a record, and it's not as kind of timeless as just having a conversation. But I think there are things surrounding the release of Off-Road Minivan record, the kind of really, I don't know, kind of are very, I think, are timeless, and I think will lead to interesting topics. Something you had said in the press release, and it's interesting because like I know these are things you'll probably say and things that'll probably be out on things, but I also don't know if people like the listener gets to see some of these things that go out to us on the media side. But you talk about how the record, may this keep you safe from harm. That it's sort of and I'm saying this, that it's almost like a call to arms of sorts to be better, be a better person, and to let go in certain circumstances of things. The line you say is, I hope when listening to this record, I hope you call your parents and say you love them. You call the person you hate or are having problems with and say, I'm done. You deserve better. This is me putting a standard out there for myself. I hope you do the same and experience a little healing and solace by letting go of what hurts you. And I feel like that just resonated with me so much, because I feel like, getting ready to turn 39 in a couple of months and being closer to 40 and, going through therapy and kind of understanding that there's just like holding on to shit that doesn't fucking matter will eat at you, and that you need to move on beyond that and just kind of seek comfort and to be a better person, and all of these things I think are just so universal to all of us. And when listening to the record, I feel like it's so obvious that this needed to come out of you at this point in time. So I guess I kind of wanted to talk about what was the impetus of understanding that you needed to go through this, and that you needed to change some of your behaviors or some of the things that you were doing in your life to be honest with yourself, and through the music that you needed to make these changes.
First and foremost, man, thanks. That hit. I'm having like, I get very emotional talking about this record, and it's different for me because like in Fit, I'm not like lead dude. I'm just like crazy, spinny, animal man. And so getting used to like being on this side of stuff and telling people about my feelings is something I'm getting used to. So I'm going to try to do it and not be a little baby about it. Because it's been a challenge. But yeah, I had a lot on my heart that started coming out like naturally on its own. Like I think it really kind of started with the ending track. It's nothing personal. And like that, Billy and Karma were probably like the first songs I wrote for the record. And, you know, I think because I have such an experience on one side of the coin where it is like I get everything I've ever wanted. I'm treated with love and kindness and adoration in terms of like Fit for a King's art and what we're able to achieve. And that has blessed me in many, many ways. And when it comes to creating a record, there still is a lot that comes out of me naturally that I can't necessarily do over there. So luckily with Off-Road, it's a culmination of myself, Evan, Miles, and Mike, and all of our stories and songs, because everyone's a pretty incredible songwriter in the band. So, you know, I only really ever had the one title. I only ever called it May This Keep You Safe from Harm. I only ever had the one cover. It was an image by a woman named Imani Gewurz that I absolutely love and adore. And a lot of this was just done with like a feeling in the gut. Like you just knew when something was right or when it was done or what it was supposed to be. And it almost broke us up a few times along the way because, you know, we lost 2 members because they became fathers and one moved across the country and, you know, just moved on to another part of their lives. And this is my life. Making records is my all. That is my baby. That's what I have. So I kind of, I don't know. I didn't put a timeline on this. I just said it's done when it's done. Like I'll let you guys know in a way. And I'm a lot to deal with. I'm not like necessarily the most fun guy to write music with because it comes from like the darker places of my brain and my soul. And I'm very excited to click play on Friday. Like I think I'll be like a little, I don't know, healed or something. Like I wanted this. I kind of felt like I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And but thanks. I don't know. It's a hard thing to talk about. It's a weird thing to talk about. I love it. It's, yeah. Something I'm very proud of.
Well, it was kind of the interesting thing when this record came through, and I know you had kind of briefly alluded to that some new music was coming, and I think you had even said like there's going to be some off-road minivan news you'll be hearing about soon. But obviously we didn't discuss this because there wasn't really much to discuss at the time. But the thing that I was looking forward to is I feel like you and I, like typically I wouldn't have someone back on so quickly. Because a lot of times it's like, especially where we and the things we discussed, I felt like we covered a lot of pretty big topics that were there. Yeah. Still, if you listen to it now, it's like, what is there really to go back through where we're not just retreading the same shit? And when listening to this record, it's like I feel like it took what we talked about and it's expounded upon it more. And I feel like I said, there's a lot of things in this where I feel like these things are important to talk about. You know, something you had said when discussing, you know, kind of that this you knew, you followed your gut, like you knew that what the album title was going to be, you knew what the album artwork was going to be, and even kind of going back to what I said, where I feel like this feels like it had to come out and it had to be now that it came out. Something I've really been embracing in my life over the last probably 3 to 4 years is just that things are going to happen when they're supposed to, and that you don't force them. and that sometimes it's in the patience of understanding that the world will kind of unfold when it's supposed to, that when you are able to see these things manifesting and happening and understanding that it kind of makes it more magical. Because I think when you do something and you force it, like you're maybe not able to fully understand why the thing is or what it's teaching you in the moment. But when you have the realization and the skill set necessary, that when you do and you are able to look at it, you're like, wow, this is something very valuable. And I'm glad it happened now because I can understand it fully and I can feel it fully.
Yeah, being whimsical is a beautiful thing. And life is difficult.
Yeah.
You have to provide for yourself. You have to provide for people. You have to grow. You have to attain knowledge. You have to learn how to participate and kind of keep up when it's constantly spinning. And we often like forget to like take a moment and reflect on ourselves in that sense, you know what I mean? So like this is kind of like my way of being able to go through and do that. But I don't know. It's hard to sorry. Like finding the way to respond to that. I had a thought for a second and then I totally lost it.
It's
Can you
funny.
refrain your question real quick, and then hopefully my brain will kick back on.
Yeah. I'm going to rephrase the question, or I'll re-ask the question, but I also want to point out something that I was told somewhat recently, and it's stuck with me, and I don't know that I believe in the full meaning behind the saying,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to think about it in what does it mean in a larger scale. But someone once had said I had heard that when you can't remember what you were going to say, it's because it was a lie essentially.
Oh,
That
maybe.
you're
Probably.
coming up with something
It.
and you can't remember it because it's not true. It's not a factual thing that you were going to say. It's not
Oh, that's
something you believe in. And when I
maybe.
heard that,
Probably.
I realized that when, especially when doing this, or
Yeah.
really, I guess, having hard conversations with people, when someone has it, I wonder if it's an internal mechanism where they're like, this is something real. It's something where it's uncomfortable and we're having a real discussion about something.
Oh,
And
I
I want to
usually
be
blame
vulnerable.
myself being a pothead. That's
Well,
usually, my reasoning, honestly. I feel like, I try in general, but I do agree with that where I just in general am trying not to ever give bullshit because it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I think early on when I did some interviews when I first joined Fit, we were all figuring ourselves out as men and who we wanted to be. And that took me a while. But now since I've like had my own podcast for a long time and stuff, I don't really give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like I think everyone knows they're just like, yeah, that guy, he's a nut. That's for sure. So yeah, hit me with your question again. Yeah, sorry about that.
no worries. Which now I kind of forgot where I was going because I almost want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
something that I do because it was something I was thinking of as a whole about this record. I would say outside of like there's a comment Landon made from Plot and You a while ago when he was on, and he was talking about the Plot record that was coming out at the time, which I think was the Feel Nothing record, and I was saying something like, is it hard to be so vulnerable and say some of these things that I think are really hard because you have to like it's you're saying the quiet thing out loud essentially is what it boils down
Yeah.
to. And some of the things you're talking about are really fucking hard to say, let alone to sometimes listen to because you can feel that it's coming from a place that's real.
Yeah.
And so when he was kind of talking about the writing process, he was like, yeah, I remember I was writing this song about somebody that I was living with and dating. And they're like, is
Yeah.
this about me? And he's like, no, but yeah, it is. And
Yeah,
so,
I've had that quite a bit, man, for sure. And I try to communicate about the stuff that I can. 3 of the songs on this record are about a person that I am no longer friends with, and they will likely, if for any reason they ever listen to it, they'd probably know. But like as an example of that, the final track on the record, it's nothing personal. It's about a guy I'm still friends with. I actually wrote the song Spiral Gaze, which was our first song about him as well. My father says he's my muse. Still love the guy to death, but we fought a lot over the years. And this was a song I wrote after we got into a pretty big fight. And, for a long time, the song had like a different title. It was a pretty mean title. And then I decided before I made the record, I wanted to show it to him. And so I did. And that's when the name kind of hit, where I was like, dude, like, I know we're still cool. I knew the song, if it went out, you would hear it and you'd know it's about you. I just want you to know it's nothing personal, dude. And that's because I mean it, but I don't, like I love him, but he makes me fucking furious sometimes. So, and even like we tried with certain stuff, the two songs that are dedications to people, Basement and Cheerleader, we like showed them to the families first and made sure we had their blessing. But there's some songs, like there's one song that's about someone and I can't wait to tell them about it, but I hope that they like get it first. And it's not even a bad thing. I think they'll actually be stoked. But it's a song, Commitment Issues. That's about someone where I kind of like predicted that their relationship wasn't gonna work out, and it didn't. But they're a really good person. They deserve the best, and I hope they find it. So, yeah.
I feel like, and it's sometimes it's interesting when getting some of these advances of records, and you get them, and like I was kind of saying, you sometimes identify with them. The music kind of comes at a time where maybe you need it and just didn't realize you needed it, or it's bringing to light something that maybe you've been peripherally noticing but just didn't have the words to articulate it. And I feel like a lot of what you just said has hit on so many things that I'm going on in my life. Like I have a friend that's sounds like, from the conversation we just had a couple of days ago, like potentially getting ready to go through a divorce. And he and I having conversations about, what does that look like and how do you feel? Because I think like my wife and I have often joked, we say that, like we'll get a divorce at some point. Like, before we even got married, we were playing Keno, and then those fuckers go up to like 99. So we needed one more number. And I was like, she was like, pick another number. I was like, you pick it. And I go, tell you what, pick however long you think we'll be married. And she was like 5, and then filled in. And I was like, you bitch.
Oh my God.
So much so that we got a 5. I'm terrible at this. 5 on our ring finger.
Oh, very nice.
Our 5th anniversary. So
you guys play with magic. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Y'all are wild.
So we, but it is something like I have seen too often in life that obviously marriages can fall apart, and that maybe people just aren't meant to be with each other forever. And it's a thing where I think it's healthy to talk to others that have gone through and realize that this is a thing that they aren't interested in being a part of anymore. Because maybe I might, through talking to someone, might come to that same realization down the road. And I don't think it's looking for a safety net out or anything like that, as some people have said, but I think it is important to just kind of understand that sometimes things aren't the way you expect them to be, and to be as prepared as possible. The other thing, it's interesting, as you're talking about having, an issue and a couple songs inspired by your dad, and the struggles you guys have in your relationship, even just what you've said so far. Like, I'm kind of in the same boat in the last couple of years, and I think about all the time the amount of things that I talk about in my life and the relationships I have, familial or whatever. and I know that this exists, and he could just randomly click on this episode, or there was an episode with somebody else where I was like, look, my parents found religion recently in the last couple of years, and it's really put us at odds. And like, I did, like, it's like, I know there's still the people that I love and that love me and all this kind of stuff.
Just to clarify, none of these songs are about my dad. Me and
Oh,
my
I thought
dad
you
are
said.
tight as
Oh, I
fuck.
thought you said that Spiral Gaze was about. I thought you
No,
said
the
was
same
about.
song. It's nothing personal. It's about a
Oh,
guy, a friend of
oh,
mine.
okay. I'm sorry.
And Spiral Gaze was about him as well.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. The only song that I've ever written about my dad really is 17 Years. But he's all over the place. He's in some of the first music videos. His voice is on this record right before the song Karma. I love him. Like,
Sorry, I guess I
everything.
misunderstood.
No,
So
it's okay. Just
thanks
wanted to
for
clarify,
clarifying.
just in case he ever sees it. I'm like, no, dude. Like, no, we're great. It was Father's Day, 2 days ago. So, no, that's my guy.
Well, no, I
You
was going to
know,
say, I think
yeah.
for me, it's interesting to hear so many different things, because I feel like explaining the different songs and what they're about and who they're about to you, I think really does kind of showcase that sometimes we need to take stock of the various relationships in our lives and need to fulfill different roles and things within them. Needing to understand that, being upset and angry at people is healthy. Being able to
Absolutely.
articulate that and having those hard conversations with people, I think is important. And something I wanted to kind of know and was kind of asking initially was it hard to kind of incorporate some of these other people, like talking about how, like, that there's different parts of, like, your grandmother, I think, is on one of the songs, like you incorporated pieces of your family into the record,
Mhm.
like actually recording them. Was it hard to kind of showcase what you were working on and kind of having some of the closest people to you hear some of these songs and share these feelings maybe that you haven't articulated to them?
Well, the clips themselves I collected over time while being around. The only person that actively, well, okay, I did an interview with my grandmother. I did like some quote unquote secret recordings of my family while they were on, where like it was in the moment. I just kind of turned on the voice recorder and flipped my phone over. And then some of them were like the stop feeling sorry for yourself line. That's my wife and Evan and I's best friend, Devin. And to whom like I'm capable, I guess, of like telling people what the songs are about. Like I enjoy communicating with them. The person that the 3 songs are about, I'll likely never speak to again. And it's not because it ended like in such absolute tragedy where I have to. I'm just like fucking exhausted. Like I just getting older. I know what I want. I know what I got and what I can give. And I'm fucking done with anything else. And that's kind of how I feel about music, where like with this record, I didn't want to put anything out. No one could tell me when to put it out. No, I did everything exactly how I wanted to, when I wanted to, the exact way I wanted to. And I'm really, really proud of it. And like, it sounds so stubborn and shit, but it's my chance to be stubborn. So that comes with sharing the art of like who it's about or not. Where like one of the songs, the song Karma, the person that song's about, I haven't spoken to in 10 years. Why I even think about them is beyond me. I just fucking hated them. Thought they were a piece of shit. And they were the only person I ever met that didn't believe in karma. And it fucking made sense because they were a fucking asshole. And I need to get over this shit. And I need to stop thinking about it. And I need to get rid of them. So after this record, I'm just fucking done with it. This is me like learning how to actually process and move on and to say the things that instead of like thinking them in my fucking head all the time, I'm just going to put it out and I'm going to say what I fucking want and then I'm going to move forward. And it helped a lot with the last record. It wasn't, the last record was a lot of true stories, but there was also some stuff on there that I just wanted to get over. And I think I did that better this time because every single song I could go on for days about for like what they mean, which just to keep in mind also, I've got like 25 minutes because I've got to do another interview after.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of, to go back to having to explain it to people, we explained it to the ones that we felt like when they heard it, it could possibly upset them. So we did. And to the ones that it could possibly upset them and I didn't talk to them about it, it's exactly why I wrote the songs.
I feel like there's a little bit of irony in there that, you're saying, like, especially with a song like Karma, that it's a way for you to finally put these feelings, this thing, this person, whatever, to rest. Like, you're not gonna, like, you're done with it and you're moving on, which is healthy. Playing devil's advocate for a second, though, all I can think of is I was like, yeah, but if it becomes a song that does really well, then you're gonna play it all the time. So you essentially kind of have to relive and think about those things and that person whenever you're playing, potentially.
Yeah.
So is it really buried and gone and done, or does it now
The
manifest itself in a new way? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like the problem I've been having with a lot of this stuff is like getting emotional while I'm listening to it and talking about it and stuff, and I'm finding myself like feeling better. Where you're 1000% right. Because if and God willing, like I would love it to be a massive song. Of course, that's why I fucking wrote it. I think it's great. I want to see a whole room of shit ton of people yell "Karma is a bitch, I told you so." It's fucking. I love that song. But I feel better, and I don't want to just be a chatty Cathy who like feels some way about people or talk shit or whatever for the sake of it. Like I liked when bands really put it out there. That's why like all over the record there's like names and there's moments and there's like I'm trying to be very precise with who I'm talking about, when I'm talking about them, what's going on, because otherwise I'm not painting a picture. Like, it's not all metaphorical. It's real. Like it's so yeah, I don't know, kind of splits itself down the middle.
When
But
you're
yeah,
working on
you're right.
when you're working on something like this, I know, and a thing that we both have just incessantly said repeatedly is, it feels right. Like you saying, like I'm saying that I feel like this is something that had to come out. It feels like it needed to be now. You've talked about I did everything the way I wanted to do it. But I wonder, what is the process like of making the track listing for something like this?
Oh, it was pretty fun. When we were done, me, Evan, and Adam, the producer, we wrote all the songs out on a piece of paper. If you end up getting a copy of the vinyl, in the vinyl, there's like images that are in the printing, and there's a picture of it where I ripped up a piece of paper, I wrote the name of the songs, and we just put it on the floor and we looked at it. And me and Evan start moving pieces around, and we had it one way, and then we listened to it. We made one change, and then that was it.
So that was going to be my next question, was did it come together and was it as obvious as it seems like it? Because listening to the record, it feels like these are the songs as they're supposed to go, because it's telling a story essentially. And there's an overarching, narrative going on. And sometimes when I listen to records, I wonder was it a painstaking process to get the pieces to fit together the way that it was supposed to, or is it one of those where it just, and this is why I asked the question, because hearing you talk about the record, it seems like it just, everything worked so easily for you. So I feel like this would have been one where, like, did the track listing just even come together that easily for you as well?
Yeah, that aspect did. And the only thing that, and the rest was easy too, but the rest was just like putting in the clips where I wanted them. So once I had the track listing where I wanted it, it was listening through all the stuff I'd collected and finding the appropriate clips. And then the only two clips that weren't like organically recorded in real time was the clip before Pity Sex, and that's my wife and Evan and I's best friend Devin. Like I said, the stop feeling sorry for yourself. Because like to me it goes stop feeling sorry for yourself, because it's like this thing that just, I'm so tired of this, and that's why was a thing with why I'm over that relationship, is like, you know, the pity party thing just gets so hard to go to. Like I've been a bunch, and like I'm just over it, and I don't want to go again, and you got to get over it. And the other one was before the breakdown. That clip is Evan's niece, and I had just kind of been listening to that placement and thinking about, what it is that I wanted on that. And he has a really special relationship with her, and I felt it was just the thing. I don't know. So then I asked him to call his sister and ask her to record that. And then she sent it over, and we put that on the record. But some of it's crazy good timing. Like the one clip of my grandmother right at the end, where my mom's telling this story about this time where I got out of surgery, and she tries to give me this gift, and I'm high as shit and I freak out. But the way that my grandmother just says, next time we'll tell more. That was the whole reason I did it. I'll have that forever, so.
I think that it's funny because
it's hard,
No, I mean, I was just having a conversation with my wife and a friend, because they went out for essentially like a camping trip, or ladies camping trip, and I stayed home with the dog and had some friends over. And while I was inviting some friends over, there was someone that I was like, I invited so and so, and they're like, oh boy. And the line, stop feeling sorry for yourself, I really gravitated toward it because of this same thing. And it really hit home, because as a person who just wants people to, be cool and have a good time, and, be like kind of a conduit for positivity and so forth, that I realize at times it puts me in these situations where maybe I keep people around that I should distance myself from.
Everybody does it.
And I feel like the hard part has been, this person goes through these, and I'm not minimalizing what this person's going through, but it goes through when life hands this person a bad like day, or, something, that the ego gets in the way. I think there's underlying things that haven't been addressed from either childhood or something, but it always turns into this like needing attention, like, oh, I'm just going to kill myself and blah, blah, blah. And you wouldn't understand. And it's like, man, like it has really taught me, and this relationship especially has really taught me, that it's like, sometimes you can see someone and outwardly think like they just got it all. Like, man, you're a good looking person. You got a great job. Like, life just seems to go your way when you want it to. And you got no fucking problems. And then you sit down with these people and you learn that they're some of the most shattered and broken fucking people. And that the outward is 100% a cover for how they feel internally. And it became a thing where I remember when my wife was like, what if this person gets this way? Because I heard through a different friend that this person kind of called up and was, belligerently drunk and was, pity party again and da 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 da. And I go, well, I've established, after going to therapy, I realized that I was bad at setting boundaries. So, like I did with my dad and like I've done with other people, I've started setting boundaries. And I go, and this will be a great example of I've set a boundary for the last little while. This is why we haven't invited you to stuff. This is why I don't really hang out or whatever.
Yep.
And if it comes to this, then it's going to be like, all right, well, now we have to have the hard conversation of like, dude, like, this is like, I don't have the emotional, I can't take on this anymore. I can't be a part of this. I've already gone through it with you for several years.
Yeah.
The behavior doesn't change. And I just don't have the bandwidth to deal with it.
Yep.
I can barely sometimes deal with my own shit. And that's just the reality of it. And it's like when I hear the phrase, stop feeling sorry for yourself, I feel like some people might hear it. And it's like, I think some people would listen to it and think it's callous that you don't care. But I almost feel like it gets to a point where it swings all the way the other way around, where it's like, I care so much that I can't care anymore.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, and I totally understand where I knew when I put that in there, some people might think it is cold. And I'm trying to be, in a way. Fucking stop it. I'm over it. And that's how I felt. But that's the point of doing it for you is I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm not trying to not upset anybody. All I'm trying to do is serve myself and make something that makes me feel like I am proud of myself. And making art is hard. If you're making art just to please, you are fucking in the wrong place. Like, you're not kind of getting the point. Art is supposed to be hard. Yeah, art is natural. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
This might be a hard question to answer. But something I always end up talking about is how, when doing the press junkets for album cycles and so forth, you're essentially having to go back to something that you may have been done with since you turned it in. The project was done for 5, 6, 7 months to a year. Yeah. With this record, when it was finished and you no longer were working on it, what differences have you noticed since it's been done in just how you are as a person and creatively or whatever? Like, what has changed?
A few things. I think I had like a mental block for a while where I was having trouble writing, and now I feel like very refreshed and excited to get back on the horse and have written quite a few songs already. And it's interesting. It is a culmination of things where I feel much better and more emotional at the same time, where I've done, this is the 4th interview I've done talking about the record, and I've cried in 3 of them now. So I'm learning, and it's hard because going back to talking about the bullshit thing, I don't know what happened during the dark times. And that's what I'm calling it, because I don't want to talk about it. Something broke. I don't have bullshit anymore to give. And I've been very emotional since I am figuring it out. So if I'm going to make stuff, if I'm going to talk to people, it's kind of why I stopped doing my podcast for a while. I just needed to figure out how I'm going to show myself to people or like handle that, because I don't want to have any form of veneer. I just want to be me, like it or don't. Sometimes I'm really funny. Sometimes I'm a fucking dick. And that's how it's going to be. So I can't like talk about the songs, just be like, yes, man, like life's a metaphor and fucking it's a garden, go and dig it. Like I'm writing things And that sounds really egotistical to be like, I'm writing things that fucking matter to me. But these songs were very difficult and easy to put together all at the same time. You know, for some of the songs that came together in a blink, like Basement or The Beacon, it was just this like beautiful, easy process. And then a song that sounds as simple as The Breakdown almost broke up the fucking band. So, like, it just a lot happened in the making of it that has allowed me to, I think, process my feelings better and learn how to continue to focus on the honesty part of things. And just like, if you do an interview, just fucking say what you want to say and say it how you want to say it. And don't think about like, well, what do people want to fuck that shit. I don't care anymore. I just want you to, if you hear it and you like it, great. If you hear it and you don't like it, fine. If it connects with you like the way it seems like it's connecting with you, that's all I've ever wanted. So I'm very happy with that, you know, and I'm used to with this project not having like a billion people hear it. Only thing that has been so cool is like in the couple interviews I've done so far, everyone just seems to get it. And they've been really nice. And, you know, I'm not here to just only hear positive things about myself, you know, but we did something with intention, and I had a series of feelings I hoped to get across, and I think we did it. So, yeah, I feel.
think at the end,
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing I keep taking away from now both of our conversations and kind of going back to that whole thing, I think when things are supposed to happen, it's funny. I think my perception of you initially from peripherals and what I've seen is just good time, party guy, all that kind of stuff. But I feel like interestingly, between the last time you came on and now, I feel like that's almost a disservice because I feel like you're just the word I keep coming up with is authentic and genuine. But like it took a lot of reflection and a lot of bullshit to get there. And that essentially, I feel like oddly, like both times, like I said, that you've been on have kind of been like where I think like things you're saying and part of the conversations we're having are mirroring things that I'm going through. And at the end of it, the crux of all of it is that I just want to be happy, and I want to like see people be positive and all that, and understanding that as I get older, I only got the one life, and I only got one go of it. And to hold on to resentments and to hold on to grudges and shit like that, it's just not fucking worth it. And that in the grand scheme of things, I don't know if that's an old man's game, that we're just on this other side of our life and understand that, or have experienced loss and heartache and pain that makes us come to these realizations faster than others maybe. But it is a thing where for me, I'm glad to have gotten to hear this record. Like I said, I think it really came at a time where I needed it to kind of work my way through some shit or kind of put things into perspective. And it's sort of unfortunate because I, as an empathic type person, I feel very sad that the things that have happened and the inspirations for these things were a thing that maybe you had to work through, and maybe it took you, in the case of like karma or whatever, like that you've sat on these feelings for so long and that you're finally free of them. I'm still kind of going through getting there myself with a few things and a few relationships and so forth. And, but it's good to see people like yourself that kind of make it, like I was saying earlier about talking about people who have gone through divorce. It's not because I want to get a divorce, but I think it's healthy to learn and hear people from different perspectives and walks of life than your own, because maybe they'll have a piece of information that you hear and it just kind of clicks with something maybe you just have the resources for, the knowledge on. And to me, like, this is something that I feel very confidently saying that this may not be something that a ton of people are going to listen to, but I think it's going to find the right people that it needs to, and it's going to help them in their process of figuring things out in their journey to that self-realization of like, I just need to be better and I need to let go of these things, and moving forward, this is how I need to be.
I hope so, man. And thank you for saying that. And we'll see. It's going to be an interesting ride getting to have this out and seeing how, like you said, I think a lot of, not a lot of people, the people who know of me or know of my band know of me in a certain way. And I'm excited for them to see that there is more, because they're like that energetic party side is very much also me.
Yeah.
It's just I can't. I'm naturally, just not like that all the time. Like, I am, but I'm not. But I'm not. It's
Right.
and I'm so blessed that I get to exercise that part of me so often, because the endorphin rush that I receive getting to crowd surf on a bunch of humans and stuff. Oh my God, it is the greatest high. And, I've done a bunch of drugs, so I would know. And it's awesome. And this was just one of those things that I think after years, now, this year was 9 years of touring and putting out records, and it was time to kind of show everybody some other stuff. And also, like we said, get rid of some shit, or process it at least, because why was it still there?
Right.
And if the way that you get over shit is by writing a banging song, do it for yourself. And um I always end up leaving these conversations feeling better and very fulfilled. And I know that a lot of these conversations, because it is a band, and those boys wrote an amazing amount of music and songs and stories for this thing, but it's easiest for me to speak from my perspective at times, so that's why it seems so egocentric. But more people should do shit for themselves. You don't do enough for you. Oftentimes, like, say I'm working with a band that's not mine, like a band I like, that for management or whatever, just because they hit me up and ask, say, oh, well, we need a manager, we need a booking agent, we need a record label, we need all this stuff, and blah, blah, blah. It always goes back to, what do you want? What do you
Right.
want out of your life? And this was one of those exercises in, what do I want out of my life? And what I want is to be better at healing. And I want to show people a part of myself that if it all ends tomorrow, will I be very pleased that this was the piece of work that people got to hear from me? 100%. Not everybody's going to tell me exactly how I feel about it, or like say, in a review exactly how I feel about it. But so far, that connection is there, and I'm hearing people be like, you know what, man, this thing is personal. I think I know you better, and these songs really mean something, because there's not a single word on this record that's bullshit. And if you think it is, please kindly go fuck yourself. Like, so I'm excited. This is my chance to do something different with my friends, and I think we did it well. So thanks for always giving me a place to talk, man. It really means a lot, and it helps me to continue that process. You know what I mean? So thank you,
Yeah.
John.
I would I mean, not that you need me to push you to do this, but I would be interested to see you bring the podcast back and see what the journey, since you stopped doing it and gone through the process of writing this record. I would be interested to hear what kinds of conversations you would have moving forward on your
It's
show.
coming back. I've done my first 5 interviews. I've got one right after this. And yeah, I wanted to do it different. My friend is helping me to like put it up on YouTube and everything. And people will see me here. talking about things. And yeah, I found I did a ton of all my interviews I love. But I just figured out, I think there was some stuff that, I would talk about, or how I would talk about things that I really liked. And then some things where I was like, you know what, I think I can adjust this and be more helpful and less harmful. And just some of the like talking shit stuff, because I like it. I'm from New York. Like, I like to talk shit about people.
Same.
But
That's what we do.
no, absolutely. But, I'm going to try to keep it on the fun, stupid, and knowledge and like educational side. The thing that I liked about the podcast was people, playing a show and kids come up to me like, man, that episode with Sean from Sharp Tone or whatever. I learned a lot. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want. So we'll be back very soon. I just wanted to like get some back cataloged episodes up first because I'm going on tour soon. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for the time. What do you have that you want to plug online or anything in general?
Just this. Go buy the vinyl. There's 2 different colors. One's a really cool blue swirly thing, and one's a red and black swirly thing, and they're both beautiful. They are up on at merch now and at toothandnailrecords.com. Pre-save it or just save it now if you're listening to this episode when it's out. If you like it, show someone. Send it to 2 people even. That will help.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoy it. So Thank you for your time. And this was a pleasure, as always.
Yeah, we'll have to try to hang out next time you're in Grand Rapids. I know Dale will get all your time with Magic and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you know it. But no, let's link up. Let's have a beer, some shit. But yeah, Dale gets a good chunk of my time when I'm there. I might play Magic with him a little bit later once I'm done with work today, actually.
There you go.
Just we play online together. But I love him. Giant Dale.
Yes.
Little Dale. Dale. But all right. Good. Thank you, bro.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day. So that was my conversation with Tuck, again, of Off-Road Minivan, Fit for a King as well. Go pick up the new record. May This Keep You Safe from Harm. It's honestly probably in my top album of the year contender already. Not that I've been listening to a ton this year. I've actually been getting really back into listening to a shitload of podcasts now that I have a ton of time to listen to podcasts at work. But it has been fun listening to new music and kind of, as I've been saying for the last little while, kind of being re-inspired to listen to music and to take it in and not make it feel like it was a job. I also, want to take a moment to thank Tuck for coming back on. I really enjoy chatting with him, and I'm looking forward to whenever the band comes remotely close. Which they are touring for the foreseeable future. I'm just laughing because there's a tour ad mat that they had posted on the band's Fit for King's, I think it was Twitter. And it's like the ad mat is so small you can't see any of the dates. And I think I remember commenting like, what is this, a poster for the Derek Zoolander School of Children Who Can't Read or Write So Good school, that mini school from the movie. And I thought that was really fucking funny. So that's what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of that like visual of all the tours that the band is doing. But they are hitting it. I'm hoping potentially Off-Road Minivan will end up getting some dates of their own and be able to support this album as I feel like it should be. I'd be very interested to see what a show of theirs is like. I in my head, because of how like the song like Basement's kind of, the video for it is, it's kind of funny, but it's not. So I feel like there would be an interesting juxtaposition of maybe like the visual in a live setting to the lyrical content and the content of the band and what they're playing. So I'd be interested to see how that looks, and I'd be interested to see like what kind of a shared experience it would be for those in attendance who needed those songs and are kind of sharing in a moment with each other for that evening at those shows of what the songs mean to us. So want to thank Tuck again for coming on. Looking forward to doing another one down the road, whenever that may be. Always has a welcome invite to the show to come on and plug and talk about whatever. I love the vulnerability of Tuck. I'm looking forward to his podcast coming back. I'm looking forward to anything that comes that dude's way. Very much earned. So without further ado, let's start wrapping up this episode. If you would like to keep up with Off-Road Minivan, you can find them on Facebook at Off-Road Minivan, Instagram at Off-Road Minivan, and Twitter at, you guessed it, Off-Road Minivan. If you would like to keep up with Tuck, you can find him on Instagram at HustleXCrow and Twitter at TuckFFAK. If you would like to keep up with the podcast, it's simple enough. You can find us on Brewspeak Pod on all your social media platforms. And if you would like to support our podcast sponsors, you can find them over at rockabilia.com. Use our code BREW10 at checkout and take 10% off your total purchase order. Thank you to Frankie and all the people working at Rockabilia for supporting the show. It has been a fucking blast. Also of note, I haven't done it in a little bit, but someone reminded me, actually they messaged me about when am I bringing back your favorite piece of merch question. And it's funny, I kind of I enjoyed doing them, but sometimes it felt like I was shoehorning those in because there's not really an interesting way it's kind of weird to do that in the front of the episode. And then at the end, when you're kind of trying to wrap up and get someone out for their next interview, it's kind of hard to be like, I got one last question. So I'm going to try to do that again. I did enjoy doing those. I did enjoy watching people sometimes present the thing to me, which was always kind of funny. So be on the lookout for that. I'll bring that back soon. And then Starving Artist Brewery. Definitely enjoy them. I've been enjoying some beers with them, from them, with some friends lately. So it's been fun reconnecting with some people over drinks. Starving Artist Brewery. Always remind you to judge beer, not people. In light of all of the shit that's been going on with some other beer companies and the world we live in, I think it's a great sentiment. So I want to thank them for their continued support. If you want to email the show, you can email me at brutallyspeaking@gmail.com. Try to answer most of my emails pretty quickly. If you have any guest suggestions, want to talk about something from the show, continue on the conversation, greatly appreciated. Rate, review, and subscribe. You know why those are important. Do those where you can. And for the Brutally Speaking podcast, I am John, and I'll see you all next week with the returning Brandon Shapetti, a Bleeding Through. That was a fun one. Looking forward to getting that one out to you all. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you then.